Pacific Railway Act of 1862, 37th Congress of the United States at the second session begun and held at the city of Washington, in the District of Columbia on Monday the 2nd day of December 1861, and Act to aid in the construction of a railroad and telegraph line from the Missouri River to the Pacific Ocean, and to secure to the government the use of the same for postal, military, and other purposes, be it enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that Walter S. Burgess, William P. Blodgett, Benjamin H. Cheever, Charles Fosdick Fletcher, of Rhode Island, Augustus Brewster, Henry P. Haven, Cornelius S. Bushnell, Henry Hammond, of Connecticut, Isaac Sherman, Dean Richmond, Royal Phelps, William H. Ferry, Henry A. Paddock, Louis J. Stancliffe, Charles A. Secor, Samuel R. Campbell, Alfred E. Tilton, John Anderson, Ozar Yabuti, John S. Kennedy, H. Carver, Joseph Field, Benjamin F. Camp, Orville W. Childs, Alexander J. Bergen, Ben Holiday, D.N. Barney, S. DeWitt Bloodgood, William H. Grant, Thomas W. Wolcott, Samuel B. Ruggles, James B. Wilson, of New York, Ephraim Marsh, Charles M. Harker, of New Jersey, John Edgar Thompson, Benjamin Haywood, Joseph H. Scranton, Joseph Harrison, George W. Cass, John H. Bryant, Daniel J. Morrell, Thomas M. Howe, William F. Johnson, Robert Finney, John A. Green, E. R. Meyer, Charles F. Wells, Jr., of Pennsylvania, Noah Law Wilson, Amasa Stone, William H. Clement, S.S. Hamadiat, John Brow, William Dennison, Jacob Blickensderfer, of Ohio, William M. McPherson, R.W. Wells, Willard P. Hall, Armstrong Beatty, John Corby, of Missouri, S.J. Hensley, Peter Donahue, C. P. Huntington, T.D. Judah, James Bailey, James D. Ryan, Charles Hosmer, Charles Marsh, D.O. Mills, Samuel Bell, Lewis McLean, George W. Moe, Charles McLaughlin, Timothy Dame, John R. Robinson, of California, John Atchison and John D. Winters, of the Territory of Nevada, John D. Campbell, R.N. Rice, Charles A. Trowbridge, and Ransom Gardner, Charles W. Benny, Charles T. Gorham, William McConnell, of Michigan, William F. Coolbaugh, Lucius H. Langworthy, Hugh Reed, Hoyt Sherman, Lyman Cook, Samuel R. Curtis, Louis A. Thomas Platt Smith, of Iowa, William B. Ogden, Charles G. Hammond, Henry Farnham, Amos C. Babcock, W. Selden Gale, Nehemiah Bushnell, and Lorenzo Bull, of Illinois, William H. Swift, Samuel T. Dana, John Bertram, Franklin S. Stevens, Edward Ardinker, of Massachusetts, Franklin Gorin, Laban J. Bradford, and John T. Levis, of Kentucky, James Dunning, John M. Wood, Edwin Noyes, Joseph Viton, of Maine, Henry H. Baxter, George W. Collamer, Henry Keyes, Thomas H. Canfield, of Vermont, William S. Ladd, A. Emery, Benjamin F. Harding, of Oregon, William Bunn, Jr., John Catlin, Levi Sterling, John Thompson, L. Hello Phillips, Walter D. McIndoe, T. B. Stoddard, E. H. Prothead, A. H. Virgin, of Wisconsin, Charles Payne, Thomas A. Morris, David C. Branham, Samuel Hanna, Jonas Vodaw, Jesse Law Williams, Isaac C. Elston, of Indiana, Thomas Swan, Chauncey Brooks, Edward Wilkins, of Maryland, Francis R. Cornell, David Blakely, A. D. Seward, Henry A. Swift, Dwight Woodbury, John McCusick, John R. Jones, of Minnesota, Joseph A. Gilmore, Charles W. Woodman, of New Hampshire, W. H. Grimes, J.C. Stone, Chester Thomas, John Kerr, Werter R. Davis, Luther C. Chalice, Josiah Miller, of Kansas, Gilbert C. Monell and Augustus Counts, T. M. Marquette, William H. Taylor, Allen Saunders, of Nebraska, John Evans, of Colorado, together with commissioners, to be appointed by the Secretary of the Interior, and all persons who shall or may be associated with them, and their successors, are hereby created and erected into a body corporate and politic in deed and in law, by the name, style, and title of the Union Pacific Railroad Company, and by that name shall have perpetual succession, and shall be able to sue and to be sued, plead, and be impleaded, defend, and be defended, in all courts of law and equity within the United States, and may make, and have a common seal, and the said corporation is hereby authorized and empowered to lay out, locate, construct, furnish, maintain, and enjoy a continuous railroad and telegraph, with the appurtenances, from a point on the 100th meridian of longitude west from Greenwich, between the south margin of the valley of the Republican River and the north margin of the valley of the Platte River in the territory of Nebraska to the western boundary of Nevada Territory, upon the route and terms hereinafter provided, and is hereby vested with all the powers, privileges, and immunities necessary to carry into effect the purposes of this act as herein set forth. The capital stock of said company shall consist of 100,000 shares of $1,000 each, which shall be subscribed for and held in not more than 200 shares by any one person, and shall be transferable in such manner as the bylaws of said corporation shall provide. The persons herein before named, together with those to be appointed by the Secretary of the Interior, are hereby constituted and appointed commissioners, and such body shall be called the Board of Commissioners of the Union Pacific Railroad and Telegraph Company, and 25 shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. The first meeting of said board shall be held at Chicago, at such time as the commissioners from Illinois herein named shall appoint, not more than 3 nor less than 1 month after the passage of this act, notice of which shall be given by them to the other commissioners, by depositing a call thereof in the post office at Chicago, post paid, to their address at least 40 days before said meeting, and also by publishing said notice in one daily newspaper in each of the cities of Chicago and St. Louis. Said board shall organize by the choice from its number of a president, secretary, and treasurer, and they shall require from said treasurer such bonds as may be deemed proper, and may from time to time increase the amount thereof, as they may deem proper. It shall be the duty of said Board of Commissioners to open books, or cause books to be opened, at such times, and in such principal cities, in the United States, as they or a quorum of them shall determine, to receive subscriptions to the capital stock of said corporation, and a cash payment of 10% among all subscriptions, and to receipt therefor. So soon as 2,000 shares shall be in good faith subscribed for, and $10 per share actually paid into the treasury of the company, the said president and secretary of said Board of Commissioners shall appoint a time and place for the first meeting of the subscribers to the stock of said company, and shall give notice thereof in at least one newspaper in each state in which subscription books have been opened at least 30 days previous to the day of meeting. And such subscribers as shall attend the meeting so called, either in person or by proxy, shall then and there elect by ballot not less than 13 directors for said corporation, and in such election each share of said capital shall entitle the owner thereof to 1 vote. The President and Secretary of the Board of Commissioners shall act as inspectors of said election, and shall certify under their hands the names of the directors elected at said meeting, and the said commissioners, treasurer, and secretary shall then deliver over to said directors all the properties, subscription books, and other books in their possession, and thereupon the duties of said commissioners, and the officers previously appointed by them shall cease, and determine forever, and thereafter the stockholders shall constitute said body politic and corporate. At the time of the first and each triennial election of directors by the stockholders, 2 additional directors shall be appointed by the President of the United States, who shall act with the body of directors, and to be denominated directors on the part of the government. Any vacancy happening in the government directors at any time may be filled by the President of the United States. The directors to be appointed by the President shall not be stockholders in the Union Pacific Railroad Company. The directors so chosen shall, as soon as may be after their election, elect from their own number a president and vice president, and shall also elect a treasurer and secretary. No person shall be a director in said company, unless he shall be a bona fide owner of at least 5 shares of stock in the said company, except the 2 directors, to be appointed by the President as aforesaid. Said company, at any regular meeting of the stockholders called for that purpose, shall have power to make bylaws, rules, and regulations as they shall deem needful and proper, touching the disposition of the stock, property, estate, and effects of the company, not inconsistent herewith, the transfer of shares, the term of office, duties, and conduct of their officers and servants, and all matters whatsoever which may appertain to the concerns of said company, and the said board of directors shall have power to appoint such engineers, agents, and subordinates as may from time to time be necessary to carry into effect the object of this act, and to do all acts and things touching the location and construction of said road and telegraph. Said directors may require payment of subscriptions to the capital stock after due notice at such times and in such proportions as they shall deem necessary to complete the railroad and telegraph within the time in this act prescribed. Said president, vice president, and directors shall hold their office for 3 years, and until their successors are duly elected and qualified, or for such less time as the bylaws of the corporation may prescribe, and a majority of said directors shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. The secretary and treasurer shall give such bonds, with such security, as the said board shall from time to time require, and shall hold their offices at the will and pleasure of the directors. Annual meetings of the stockholders of the said corporation, for the choice of officers, when they are to be chosen, and for the transaction of annual business, shall be holden at such time and place, and upon such notice as may be prescribed in the bylaws.